You're listening to Disrobing the Mosh Pit, a dissection of music and popular culture, with your hosts, Pete and Tom.
Right, here we are, episode 9 already.
Episode 9.
Come quite a way
We've
already.
come a long way, my friend.
A lot of laughs.
I feel like Willow off the movie Willow.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Mad Mardigan. That was such an epic Val Kilmer performance.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
He had some horrendous teeth in that movie. Though, right?
Yeah, that's right. He's got that line. He's like, "I am the greatest swordsman that has ever lived."
Yeah. He's in that dead man's cage, eh?
Yeah. That's that amazing
Hey,
confidence, eh? Yeah. Can you use a sword? I am the greatest swordsman that has ever lived.
Yeah.
Just like modesty is not one of his things, eh? That's great. There's another great sort of bit of dialogue in there where he sees that princess and he's like, "You are my sun, my moon, my heaven." Do you remember that? When he's got that like pixie love dust on him? Anyway, how was your week? All good?
Yeah, good, thanks, Tom.
It was a good one?
Yeah. You know, back out of
lockdown.
Back out of lockdown and just doing the stand stuff. How about you? How was your week? Was it nice?
It was pretty good. Yeah. Family's all good. Everything kind of going swimmingly.
Great.
But yeah, looking forward to getting into a bit of unpacking of music this evening with you and y'all. So I think one of the things that we wanted to talk about tonight, well, the main point of this evening, you were talking to me about topics that could be kind of interesting prior to this, and we do this thing every week where we basically we talk through things that could be interesting, and I think we've kind of got a little bit better at going, actually, that's going to keep us going for about 10 minutes and then we're going to run out of things to say, which is probably evident in some of the earlier episodes.
Tom gets the whiteboard out and starts making a mind map.
Yeah,
it's very interesting.
Yeah, well, it kind of needs to happen. You sort of start to hit these little obstacles that I guess anyone who does podcasts like this comes up against, eh? And so we're thinking, like, I guess one thing we try to do all the time, or I'm quite conscious of, is keep music in, you might think of it as lay terms for people who just do everyday kind of listener.
Yeah.
And we kind of talked about, and this is at the risk of, I suppose, going against what we were talking about, and I think it might have been episode 2 or 3, like, is music good or bad? Episode 2, maybe, where we sort of came to the conclusion that music isn't bad, well, inherently bad, because it's so subjective.
Yeah.
Which brings us to tonight's topic, which really is about what do we not like? What particular songs, what particular artists or styles, and see if we can really get to the root of why we might not like it.
Yeah.
Get to the nub.
The nub.
Yeah.
The nub of it. Well, what makes specific songs or groups unpopular? And I guess we don't speak for the general public and we don't speak for everyone. However, we do have our personal opinions on what we do and don't like. But I think there's a general consensus out there about groups that are deeply unpopular. Yeah.
Meme territory.
Very meme territory-ish.
Yeah, like, can you think of any off the top of
your
head?
Nickelback brings to mind straight off the bat.
Classic. Those guys have copped a lot of shit, eh?
He's got ramen here.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
But
it's well coiffed though. Like, he conditions it, and maybe he perms it. But
yeah. Well, we were talking before about why that might be the case, why they haven't, when they've been had that much ridicule thrown at them, why they're still going. And obviously they've made quite a lot of money off it.
Well, there's always two sides of the story, right?
Yeah.
We don't necessarily like them, but there are people that like them. And I guess it's the same with every group. Otherwise, they wouldn't be popular.
Yeah.
In general.
It's part of their brand now, eh?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little bit part of someone like James Blunt, his kind of brand as well. Although I feel like he's turned that on his head a little bit because, you see things about him with his witty repartee with people who take the piss out of him on Twitter and that kind of stuff, and he sort of hits them back with a well-timed, funny comment.
Mm-hmm.
But what is it about Nickelback that you think make people sort of cringe? What is it?
Well, aside from the lead singer, not that I go on YouTube and really thrash the death out of it, but Yeah, he comes across as real smarmy. I don't know. We were talking about, I think, in a previous episode about people, that we can relate to, and
Yeah.
not saying that I'm not super smarmy. I could potentially be, but you tend to see the performances like just on face value, right? We're not even talking about the music here, but just the personas, and you think, God, you're a slimy creep, basically. Well, that's what I think. What do you think? What when you think of Nickelback, or if you've seen a Nickelback performance, what immediately springs to your mind? Just music aside.
I guess they are not very extreme in one direction. You know what I mean? It's kind of like it's kind of.
Do they have to be though? Like,
Well, I think that
they are right down the middle, right?
Yeah, but you were talking before about it's kind of like it's like love songs or ballads.
Yeah.
But then they put heavy guitars on it, but it's not quite rock. So it's kind of like, hang on, you're stepping into a territory where some things conventionally don't necessarily fit. Your approach to the songs and stuff, and you're sort of getting a bit heavier, but it's not really because I don't know what kind of style you'd call it, but yeah, I was coming to sort of alt grunge before, or like pop rock sort of
rock ballad.
Yeah.
But you make a good point. It's kind of, they're not virtuosic in any way, shape, or form in anything.
It's a little bit non-committal, I guess.
Yeah, that's what it is, non-committal.
Yeah, because it's kind of like, why don't you just go the whole hog Mariah Carey love songs?
She owns it, right?
Yeah, well, that's why, Yeah. Or go the whole hog and just sort of get the heaviness going on a little bit. I think it's a little bit light, L-I-T-E.
Yeah.
I think that's
and
kind of
contrived. It seems very contrived.
Yeah. I mean, do they have their own sound?
Well, no.
Nickelback. All I can think of is they couldn't make it as a young man.
They sound like every band that that sort of like in that sort of genre. That nothing really makes them stand out apart from maybe a few catchy hooks.
Yeah, I can't help having drawing some similarities between us and those two old men sitting in the Gods and the Muppet. This episode was like, let's do an episode where we just rip on other bands, just rip on other styles and that kind of stuff.
It's entertaining though, right?
Yeah, well, it's just interesting, I reckon, because we do talk about like the fact that you sort of should give every kind of music a little bit of service and give it, try to have a listen to it and hear it for what it is. But then again, what is it about some of these styles that have made us just so like not into it? I mean, I can think of a good example of, so I like as was sort of spoken about before, I grew up in a household where I guess it was kind of classical music was we did a lot of lessons on stringed instruments and that kind of thing. But I remember being forced to go and sit in classical performances. Like I'm real picky about the kind of classical stuff that I like. And it's not really, 9 times out of 10, if people are coming through town performing stuff, I won't actually be that into it. But I was kind of made to sit through a lot of stuff when I was a kid. And I remember thinking at the time, like furious, like resenting basically everyone performing, resenting my parents for taking me to it in a light kind of little kid kind of way.
Yeah.
Not like like I was proper angry, but I was just so mind-numbingly bored. And I think that maybe when you're forced kind of sounds funny, but I was sort of dragged along basically to performances like that. It started this, I think, dislike of a lot of styles like that in my head, being taken to a live performance against my will kind of thing. It actually got to the point where I think when I started listening to heavy stuff, when I was about maybe 13, 14, and I was still going to some of those concerts, and some of them I would like, but a lot of them I'd be sitting there with, just absolutely just seething. And I started thinking, man, this would be the best opening act for like a metal band or like a big heavy kind of band. Just something that just totally riles the audience up so that they're just totally frothing, oh my God, get these guys off the stage. Oh, you just bring them to this brink of just boiling over, and then
what sort of classical are we talking about here? Is it like a performance of Mozart, or is it?
Yep. I mean, there's that sort of stuff. I mean, there are some typical composers like Mozart and Beethoven, and I like some of their stuff, and I don't like all of it. I like a lot of sort of modern minimalist stuff, and
because in my mind, I'm just thinking of 2 hours of harpsichord.
Yeah, I don't like real romantic sounding classical music.
Yeah, very baroque.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad's kind of a fan. Sorry, Dad, if you listen to this, but yeah, I'm not a big fan, and I just
Maybe
yeah,
you'll
I
ease
can't get
into it
into
when maybe you'll ease into it when you get older.
Well, that's the thing, man. Like I think he probably was into it when he was my age and a lot younger as well. So, for the thing to settle in, I think it probably would have happened earlier if it was ever going to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't count it out though, Tom. You still got another maybe 40 good years there.
Yeah, I'll give it a go. But then there's all this new stuff coming out in the next 40
this is
years.
true,
that I should be going for as well.
So with Nickelback, we've talked about sort of them being contrived, maybe slightly mediocre.
Yeah.
How about someone like James Blunt? What is it about him that annoys the hell out of you?
I don't think he annoys me so much, actually. I think, it's kind of, he's got this perhaps like a tone and an earnestness in his songs that you and I were talking about before, right? Where you don't necessarily, there's no real humor in the music that you can kind of hear. What do you think? It's the seriousness.
I think as soon as people start singing about love,
yeah,
and unrequited love or lost love, I think it immediately gets my back up a little bit.
Yeah.
It makes me cringe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't want to hear about those experiences, frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some people are so into love songs, eh?
Totally. And, there's definitely a portion of our society that love it. You put a love ballad on and they go all mushy. I'm not one of those people at all.
Yeah, man. And I used to work with this guy, and he was like a really amazing rugby player, quite a, really athletic, gym buff kind of guy. And he was like so into Whitney Houston. And it's an interesting kind of thing. Yeah, he just loved like love songs. Whitney Houston, who's amazing, obviously like amazing pipes and that kind of stuff. But a lot of love ballads is a little bit much, really.
It's the love ballad. Yeah, it's that. I don't like the mushy stuff. It's like by listening to it, you kind of feel obligated to show a sensitive side.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to do that at all.
Yeah. That's interesting. Eh? What about any kind of styles? Any other styles in particular? Is there anything that you would maybe say, I'll just avoid that radio station or?
I avoid stations like The Edge.
Oh, yeah.
Purely because I don't. It's not my sort of music.
So why do you stray away from that kind of mainstream top 40 sometimes, do you reckon?
I don't know. I just don't really like it. I think we've discussed this before. For me, it just reeks of superficiality. It's more like people out to make a buck as opposed to people singing about or making music from within. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think that's what for me it makes people stand out when the music comes across as very well crafted, as very genuine. But when it's just, it seems like it's hyper produced and it's, I don't know, it lacks an authenticity that annoys me. I don't know, I do sound like one of those old guys of the Muppets.
Well, no, I mean, it's kind of, it's a matter of totally, I think, how you engage with music. I think you probably listen. I mean, everyone engages in different ways. And I think for some people, they want to put something on and possibly not focus on it or have a hook come on or something that they know and sing along to it. It's actually always surprised me how often people only listen to music to sing along to it. Have you come across that before? And I think the radio is like, plays that role quite often, especially on things like, work sites and these sort of bangers come on that people are kind of familiar with. So it's kind of that I guess they just blast those top 40 ones all day so people can sort of sing along with them.
Yeah. How about you? Is there any? What would you say about that sort of like top 40 type music?
I think
it doesn't necessarily have to be top 40, but people like James Blunt or Celine Dion or something like that. Those are the sorts of artists that you sort of get vaguely annoyed or they rile you up a little bit when you hear them.
Well, modern people, I think they're sort of, I guess Ed Sheeran is one of these ones that can be quite polarizing like that with people.
Polarizing, yeah, totally.
But sometimes when I hear his stuff, I'm like, oh man, who is that? And then sometimes I hear it and I'm like, that's pretty amazing. I mean, he's definitely honed his craft there, eh? Like what was the story, I think, when he was coming up in the streets? in the UK. He was not in the streets, but performing a lot.
Yeah, he's a
in
busking.
bars and stuff. Yeah. Didn't he like write 5 songs a day or something, or
Yeah,
some sort of
some
crazy
stuff like that.
process like that? But he's definitely street tested, and he writes really amazing stuff, and he's the man. But at the same time, sometimes I hear this stuff and I'm like, come on, man. I guess I feel like sometimes really established artists have a responsibility to kind of push the craft a little bit. You can sort of hear if they've gone, oh no, I'm just going to put out another earner, or I'm going to take some risks here.
Do you reckon that's part of it though? Like where you feel that it's they're only in it for the money?
Yeah.
And the popularity?
Yeah, I do find musical risk taking really appealing. That you sort of get with bands like Radiohead and that kind of thing. But if it's someone putting out things that are really the same as what they did before,
it's disingenuous. Feels disingenuous.
Well, I don't know, because I quite like AC/DC, and they put out basically the same song about 500 times. Yeah, which is great, man. Like I seen them live, and it was just amazing. These granddads up there, absolutely just destroying on stage. So I guess it's the same sort of principle, but there's blues in that kind of music as well. And I've got a friend that I might have talked about this before, and the bass player that we kind of talked about before, who plays in this local band, and he reckons that for him to like music, it either has to have blues in it or sex in it. And I don't know how he qualifies that, but I think he kind of means like raunchiness, So the blues would come from, you take a band like Motley Crue, which is probably a pretty unhealthy concoction of both. But I think that you get that raunchiness, but with the riffs, you get that kind of blues as well.
Yeah.
AC/DC is probably both as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was just sort of, I guess for him, that sort of rules out hard trance and stuff like that. But I guess when he brings it down, he narrows it down to just those 2 basic needs with music.
Primal needs?
Yeah, well, I guess, that's what he says. It needs to have one or two or both of the, either of or both of those things for him to be into it.
Yeah.
And if it's not there, then he's just not into it at all.
So would James Blunt have a bit of raunchiness to it?
I don't think
Blues?
so. Not for him. No.
No?
Nah.
How about...
I feel him on that as well.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of feel the same way, but I actually quite like a lot of other things as well.
How about John Mayer?
John Mayer, yep.
He's very polarizing as well.
He is,
And let's be honest, if you read or listen to some of his lyrics, it would definitely make you cringe.
He sounds like he's singing to a 14-year-old girl the whole time, eh? That's the problem, eh? He sounds like he's trying to appeal to just like someone who... Yeah, hey, that's sort of what
it's
it feels
actually
like.
quite disgusting.
It is a bit.
I feel dirty.
Maybe we should edit that out. But with that song, like, my body is a wonderland.
Yeah.
There's that kind of
it's
stuff.
terrible. You know what? And that was like an absolute number 1 hit.
Yeah.
In the States.
Oh, you can sort of see why. Hey, it's kind of like happy. Kind of easy. But then again, he's such a rad guitarist.
He's a really good guitarist.
I mean, there's a really funny clip that he does with Dave Chappelle. Have you seen this one? And it's kind of like trying to figure out what makes white people dance.
No.
And they go into a barber shop, and John Mayer puts on a guitar, like in Harlem. Like he plays a guitar with like a little amp, and everyone's like, "Oh, shut up!" And then they get Questlove to play drums in there, and they all start dancing. And they go into like this corporate like office block, and then he starts playing, and everyone starts going crazy. Like John Mayer starts playing, and everyone starts taking their clothes off, and like it's real funny. It's a great clip. But he did that great tour with Pino Palladino and Steve Jordan, playing really bluesy stuff.
Yeah, that's right. He's kind of gone a few styles actually. Like across. He's really good at blues.
I think he might have gone to Berkeley with Questlove. And I think that I remember reading an interview saying that Questlove was like, he's my favorite guitarist to play with is John Mayer. And it's like, whoa. At that stage, when I read that, I think, he hadn't done, that was pretty close to when Body is a Wonderland had come out. So I was like, whoa, surprised to read that.
I can't remember what I was watching, but there's a song that he plays. It's called Neon.
Oh yeah.
And it's technically one of the hardest songs to play.
Yeah,
because it has a whole bunch of like syncopated percussion going along with both hands. So and then the chord shapes are very strange as well. Yeah, and he's up the neck. And I can't remember what it was where I saw it, but there's a photo of his the notes he's made for that particular song, and one of the notes is just have big hands because he's got massive hands. They're like those, those like comedy fingers you get at like cricket matches. Those big like, the big finger, index finger and the thumb. It's like that. He's got that. Plays the guitar, and you see it when he plays, and he can basically stretch his thumb all the way over the fretboard all the way to the bottom.
Yeah,
I can never do that. I got tiny little hands.
It's kind of like I think love songs is a thing, eh? They just seem a bit too serious for some people. And because like Your Body is a Wonderland, that's kind of like it sounds like he's serenading someone, eh? And same with James Blunt to some degree as well.
It's serenading.
Yeah, David Gray we've talked about. Like I'm not a big fan of David Gray. It's a little bit to do with that kind of nasal tone as well. Sam Smith I do kind of like.
Yeah?
Yeah, I like
He's quite
that.
serenadey though.
Yeah, he is a little bit. I mean, like I haven't checked out his album stuff, but there are a few things that I've seen him on. I used to have this great remix of that Good Thing song, but also that Latch track with Disclosure.
Oh, yeah.
Where he does that falsetto. It's like real full-on falsetto. It's like boom, like a laser beam comes through. So he's just he's got great pipes, but yeah, I think I might have had a listen to his album and I was like, oh man, it was a little bit of that, eh?
Yeah.
So that's like if love songs are a thing where it's just like a little bit cringy, maybe that's a Kiwi thing as well, eh? Because we are a bit private with those kinds of feelings. We don't really go.
We don't like to wear it on our sleeve a bit. Totally.
What about music that you would avoid typically that doesn't have lyrics? It's not like a love song or anything like that. Or just not a love song.
Like an instrumentally type.
Well, yeah, sorry. Or not a love song, but you did bring up the mighty Smash Mouth before.
Yeah. I think it's because Smash Mouth. That's a good one. That and like Blink 182 and it's that sort of genre. I think it was associated with like teen movies of the 2000s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
And where they're trying to be super funny, the lyrics are, they don't take themselves too seriously, but it's like they've gone too far the other way, like they've been trying to be too comical, and it's just like, you're not Weird Al Yankovic, like where you've made an entire career out of this. Like, I don't know, there's just something real cringeworthy about it.
Yeah.
Do you ever find that?
With Smash Mouth?
Well, yeah, Smash Mouth is just the example, but that sort of genre of music, that sort of like rock of the early 2000s where they're sort of like hyper produced and
I'm trying to think of another. All I can think of is Alien Ant Farm.
There's Alien Ant Farm. There is, I have to look this up.
What about Sugar Ray?
Sugar Ray?
Yeah.
How about that Wheatus, Teenage Dirtbag?
Oh, that song's pretty cool.
I've never liked it. There's just something about it.
They just really had that one song, right?
Yeah. Real one-hit wonder.
Yeah. There were those guys. I don't think any of those guys have really ever rustled my jimmies, I think.
No?
Any of those. No, I mean, I wouldn't put on an album, but yeah, I can certainly see where you're coming from there.
It's just, there's just something about it just really, I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
No, I mean, I guess we're thinking now outside of the lyrics and more of the actual vibe of the band.
Again, I think maybe you've touched on this before when you're talking about how John Mayer's singing to a 14-year-old girl. It kind of feels like these people are sort of just singing to a teenager.
Yeah, okay, yep.
And it's kind of slightly strange.
And probably still touring.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's like maybe you're in your 50s and 60s and
which is a bit weird.
You're playing to 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
It's a bit weird.
In saying that, have you checked out, and this is kind of a well-known, kind of polarizing one, have you checked out this latest versions of Hanson doing Mbop?
No.
Because they did like this acoustic version, and now, of course, they're all men. They've all grown up. And so it's like, but it was really good, man. They do a version of Mbop with a guitar, and their harmonies are like on point. They sound really, really good.
Yeah.
A female colleague of mine was just totally buzzing about their concert.
Oh, really?
Was just like, a group of us girls are going. I was like, I wonder if it'd be the same, because I guess they all were real into them when they were
that age,
tweens. Yeah.
How about Savage Garden?
Oh no, yeah, no, those guys I couldn't really abide.
That's ballady stuff, right?
Too serious.
Yeah,
way too into themselves. I kind of felt like they were just So, because the dude always had his hair plastered down, right? He was
Yeah.
very particular about his hair.
Yeah.
I think when you get that kind of thing, someone is very particular with their hair like that. I don't know. It's just a bit mopey kind of music in the videos and that kind of stuff. I wasn't into
Yeah.
Savage Garden at
A
all.
lot of Vaseline on the lens.
Is that I could take you to the moon?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
How about David Gray?
We did talk about him just before, but I think the reason I didn't really like him is because of the voice.
Yeah?
The nasal voice.
The nasal voice.
Yeah, so that I can't listen to. So that's interesting because we're talking about the theme, love songs, and then I guess the vibe and like what they're associated to, or what they're associated with, like, i.e. Smash Mouth and that kind of stuff. But now talking about the specific sound of someone's voice, that's a bit different as well.
That is a bit different.
Yeah. Because that opens up a whole new kettle of
and that's incredibly subjective too, right?
Yeah, totally.
Because some people will love David Gray.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people, but I definitely know people that love David Gray.
Yeah.
And it would be the voice, I guess, and maybe the style of music, I guess. I don't know.
No doubt a good songwriter, eh?
Surely.
But it's like, there are people like, for me, vocally, I guess David Gray, maybe M People.
Oh, really? M People?
I was never really into her voice.
Is she the "What have you done today"? Oh no, that's
I was like,
Heather Small.
Yeah, that one.
How about Macy Gray? Did you ever get into Macy Gray?
Oh yeah, I could get into some Macy Gray.
Yeah, because she's got a fairly similar voice to that, right?
Fairly,
Yeah.
yeah, but a little bit more. I don't know why. There was just sort of, I
But
think
that's a soppy love song too.
Which is
that try?
the Macy Gray. How does that go?
Try to say goodbye and I choke. Yeah,
that's
try
right.
to walk away and I stumble.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just so subjective, eh? But
It's super
people,
subjective.
yeah, not a fan. But one interesting one, given I guess that I like heavy music, is I could never get into Metallica, and like you'd probably be crucified for saying that these days if you were any bogan with your salt. But I think that
Well, they're like you call them a foundation bogan. It'd be like the entry level bogan music, right?
yeah,
Metallica.
Well, certainly when I was younger, it seemed to be either you were going more towards the Metallica side of things, or you were going more towards the sort of Sepultura and Pantera kind of side of it. There seemed to be, yeah. Well, I don't think it was quite that segregated, but with me, I didn't really find Metallica appealing at all. I don't know why. It was the sound of the production and the riffs and the yeah.
Well, they sort of straddle that sort of like I don't want to say soft rock, but like they sort of straddle between rock and metal.
There were the ballads.
Yeah, they're not. I wouldn't. Yeah, they're metal, but they're sort of like they've still got a foot in the camp of not metal as well.
Especially with some of these later albums, like Fuel and Refuel, is it?
No, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Load and Reload.
Oh yeah.
But he's got that song Fuel on it.
Yeah.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that much of desire.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Sort of pop metal almost, eh?
Pop metal, yeah.
But they crush it though. Such a huge band.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Do you even like Nelly Furtado?
Not hugely. Not hugely.
No?
But huge following though, eh?
Massive.
What did you?
No.
But
there's not really much I like.
Yeah.
I pretty much hate everything.
Jeez, we're exactly like those two old guys, eh? Yeah. I mean, I think that since I got older, I can find, hopefully one thing I've tried to do is consciously look for redeeming features and stuff that I think I wrote off as a younger person because of, my own musical prejudices, I think.
Yeah.
So something like Nelly Furtado, which came about, at a time where I was probably very not into mainstream stuff as a matter of principle. Now I would listen to and try to get into a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, try to give it the time of day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same with Alanis, I think. Yeah, but you brought up that one. I've got the power.
That's CNC Music Factory, right?
Is it? Was that a one-hit wonder?
Gonna Make You Sweat was another one, I think.
What?
Gonna Make You Sweat. Oh, maybe is that the same song?
It might be. Yeah, true.
I can't remember how it goes, but
yeah, I think it can be put into categories. Like
Yeah.
we don't like the voice, we don't like the theme, like love song. We don't like the association with some kind of movies, And also maybe in association with a life experience. Hey,
Yeah,
you had anything
yeah.
in a life experience where you're like, oh my God, this song is on repeat and I'm like feeling car sick or something or anything like that?
Nothing springs to mind. Is there anything for you?
That you can, only those ones that I had to sit through when I was a kid.
How about CNC Music Factory? There's a time that you had to, watch anything?
Oh,
or-
yeah, that's right. Yeah, we were talking about before. Yeah, I was made to sit through a dance routine that one of my sisters and a few of her friends put on when I was like way younger. And I remember thinking, oh man, this song is just so. Man, that must have been like 90.
Were they doing like the frame hands, when they dance and they're like doing that sort of thing?
Yeah, a lot of ground stuff, I think, from memory.
Do like ground stuff? Like, what do you mean?
I don't know, some sort of like
splits and stuff?
Not splits. It's difficult to, just really 80s, almost like a cross between aerobics dance moves and
Susie Kate,
early
Susie
R&B
Kate,
videos.
Susie, what's her face?
Oh yeah, who is that aerobics person you're thinking?
Yeah. She wore like the real like the leotard,
The leggings.
Yeah,
You're going to say Susie Cato, but that woman's a living legend.
Yeah, and she does children's programs.
3 p.m.
Yeah,
she was epic. So you can't think of anything else that's you can associate with an experience.
You might have to come back to me on that one. There will be, no doubt, like buried deep in there.
Yeah.
True. But yeah, I'm not saying that because I won't bring it up, but it's because I haven't really thought about it, to be fair.
We've got an interesting tasting notes tonight, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk us through a little bit what we're drinking, what we're sampling?
Well, as I was whizzing through the supermarket earlier on, this caught my eye, and it's a wine by Snoop Dogg, and it's called 19 Crimes Cali Red. And I saw it there, and I thought that would be interesting to try. And might I actually say it's actually quite delicious. What are you getting there, Tom, off this?
Yeah, I'm getting it's like a plummy kind of depth to it. It's really sweet.
Yeah, it is actually. Now you come to mention it, it is quite sweet. There's not a lot of dryness to it.
Good legs. Yep, good legs from the look of it.
You reckon he's throwing a bit of Robina in there?
I reckon it would go well with, what would you pair it with? I reckon chicken maybe, yeah.
You reckon chicken?
I reckon
Does
it'd
red
go-
wine traditionally go with chicken? Usually it's a white wine thing.
Not tonight.
Like a nice
Snoop
beef
does what he
Wellington with a
wants.
duck salad or something.
Probably it'd go well with a joint if that's
burger.
Snoop's probably done it. Yeah, white wine and chicken. Yeah, but I mean, I'm kind of, I don't know.
I mean,
yeah.
no, I'm not saying that you can't have red wine with chicken.
No, it's too late. You've unveiled my peasant status there. Yeah, to go well and chasing it up with some Ranfurly.
Yeah.
No, it's good. Thank you for bringing this drop. It's actually quite interesting seeing someone like Snoop put his name behind something like this and having it come this far afield from where he is as well.
Totally.
Nice to know that we can still put a little bit of money into Snoop's pockets all the way from little old New Zealand.
Totally. And actually, we are pairing it with something this evening, Tom.
We are, which is another special thing. We've long been searching for a kind of podcast-friendly snack to have while we're harping onto each other. And we've found the ultimate one. Tell us about it, Pete.
Well, someone describe it as a snack cake. It's Twinkies. And we've got Tom's very kindly presented it on a lovely platter. So we have a platter of Twinkies and we're drinking Snoop Dogg's wine.
It's either going to be Twinkies or steamed pork buns. I think the softest
actually,
foods
that's a
that
good
you
one
can
for
think
next
of.
time.
Yeah, I know, just the ones.
Yeah.
I'll sort those for
Oh,
next
good.
time.
Okay. It's on you.
Yeah, man.
I'll bring the hoisin.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, cool. So just getting back to this topic here, I think we can safely say that we probably, you and I, would you say we actively avoid music more than a lot of other people, your average listeners, or what?
I don't know if I actively avoid it. In this day and age where you can pick and choose your music a lot easier, I tend to not listen to the radio a lot, aside from national radio. I am one like those old men in the Muppets. Aside from national radio, I don't really listen to the radio.
Yeah.
And so on Spotify or a streaming music service, and
Yeah.
that's pretty much it. And because of that, I tend to choose my own music a lot. So
Yeah.
I'm not really exposed to a lot of top 40. How about you, Tom?
Is there any kind of, yeah, well, I think I try to be open about it, but I'm very quick to change it if I don't kind of like something.
Do you reckon you judge people? Like if you went around to someone's house and they were playing, I don't know, they were playing Imagine Dragons in the background and they were just really loving it. Would you?
Well, it's interesting that you say that because it's kind of a little bit like politics. You know, you sort of go in there and you have people saying things like, oh, just because we've got different politics, it doesn't mean we can't be friends. But it's like, well, it does limit what we can talk about a little bit, you know? And I kind of feel a little bit the same when someone, you know, plays the music that they really, really like. If it's something that I'm really kind of like, oh man, I couldn't get down to that. It does. I do feel like it kind of limits what we could.
Has that happened to you where like you've gone around to someone's place maybe and they've gone, oh, Tom, you've got to listen to this. I love this. This is amazing. And they've played it to you and you've just gone, like, what do you do in that particular situation?
Yeah, I think probably just try to look for good things in it. That hasn't happened in a little while, actually, come to think of it.
Has it actually happened to you though?
Oh, yes, actually. You know, it does happen semi-frequently. I can think of a couple of people who do play me stuff where it's kind of like, I think we get excited, you know, and we just play each other stuff. And I probably do the same with him, actually. And, you know, you go to YouTube, talk about this thing that you're finding. And it's like, the next person gets something and then plays it to you. And so we have this back and forth going as part of our sort of friendly rapport. But quite often then I think like I think I might actually be quite rude.
In what way?
I think about it afterwards and I'm pretty sure I just go, oh yeah, that's good. Okay, listen to this. And just like immediately put something else on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do worry sometimes about how.
I know your trick. So if I ever like suggest something, you're like, great, and then we'll play something else.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, no, Tom doesn't like that at all.
Yeah, I'm full of tricks like that. I managed to get the best one with someone that I know who's a really sweet guy, but he talks like he's got to talk to you when you see him. He talks long. He talks for ages, basically. Mm-hmm. But he's a sweetheart, so I'm kind of like, how can I get away from this guy without offending him? But I figured it out. I actually have to ask him a question and then walk out of the room backwards and close the door behind me while he's answering it. That's literally, I do it all the time. It's real funny. I always have to do a little quiet fist pump afterwards because he's just sort of standing there going, oh, okay. And then he just sort of carries on. That's a good trick.
To be like,
God, I hope he doesn't hear this.
Where did you get that rug from? Out the door. Like, just go to the toilet and I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah, just practicing my moonwalk. I'll see you later.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. But I mean, like, I think that when someone does play something like that I think I'm a little bit, I don't think I actually, come to think of it, I don't think I really judge them. I don't think I know anyone necessarily who would play something like that is so far out. And it's been a little while, so far removed from what I would sort of normally like. Yeah. And it's been a little while since I was in that situation, to be honest.
Really?
Where I think I was at someone's house or something where they've actually gone, you got to listen to this. And I'm like, oh man, really? What is that? They're like, it's this band that I've just found out about. It's Nickelback.
Yeah.
Like, you got to check it out.
Great.
Oh man, how beautiful is this rock ballad?
It hits me right here, you know?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. So
have you ever been to a party and have you ever been tempted to change the playlist?
I think I've learned from experience it's not a really good idea.
Really?
Yeah.
Has someone ever done that to you? And put
yes.
something like really questionable on? You're like, oh my God, who's done that?
Yeah. And I think I've had to learn to let that go as well.
Oh, really?
A little bit, yeah. But I think like because I've been writing music for a while, I think that, you know, I have previously had a tendency to get excited about what I was working on and play that for people.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when you go, you don't get the reaction that you're after. And I'll tell you what the worst is when you go, you put on something that you've been working on and people are like, oh yeah, cool, blah, 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 and they just talk over it. And you got to sort of let it go. You're like, oh, okay.
Have you ever like skipped back, like, I'm just going to rewind?
Yeah. Or they immediately go, oh, cool, man, here, check this out, and put something else on. Oh. And I think like you sort of just have to go, oh, okay, and just sort of let it go. But I think they kind of weaned me off trying to grab the aux cord
Yeah,
in
yeah.
a social situation, probably.
Yeah. Oh, hell, I put my phone on. I've got my Spotify playlist on.
Yeah. I'll be like, oh, try the Buena Vista Social Club. Just like go for something real safe. Yeah, that's sort of like fit for any kind of party or anything like that.
Have you ever played, Melissa, any of your, like a real lovely, like, love song, like a James Blunty type music?
Oh, that I'd written or for
Or both.
for her.
Yeah. Have you ever written one?
I wrote one when I was younger called an ode to Kransky. That
Was
Durry,
Krensky
the sausage. Yeah, it's kind of a piss take. As in like younger Durry and I wrote like back in the day. But nah, I haven't really written a love song before.
Or played? Like, have you like gone, Melissa, I've got to play this to you?
It's actually make her sit through it and like hold her hands and stare in her eyes and just be like, this is for you.
Like, look, bottle of wine, and then like,
yeah,
you're beautiful.
Oh my God, yeah, no, I couldn't do that with a straight face, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think I'm one of those people, eh? Yeah, why, have you done it?
No, God, no. I have written some pretty soppy love ballads in the past, I'm shamefully admit. And actually, I came across one the other day, and I was like, all my toes were curling in my shoes, and then I was like, I can't listen to this any longer. I can't believe I wrote that.
We're going to be putting that into a podcast. That song,
It's going to be in the background of this podcast.
I reckon. Yeah. See with that audio file, we'll put it in there. Eh?
Yeah,
that'll be really good.
Oh no, it won't be. It won't be.
It's going to be funny. Yeah. Well, I think that I've got a few ideas now about what to do to get people riled up before you play some other music. I think it could be a really good idea to put on, if you go to like a Bogan festival and put on some like Dixie
Chicks?
Well, no, some sort of Dixie barbershop stuff.
Nice.
As an intro before your band comes in,
Mm-hmm.
but play it for just a little bit too long. So they start to get really aggressive. Yeah. And then when you come out, it'll be like an explosion of this pent up just rage.
Could they go against the opposite way though? Like, and then does that come onto the stage and like start tearing everything to bits?
I reckon they'd be real stoked to see you walk out on stage, eh?
Yeah. What's your thought on the Black Eyed Peas?
Oh yeah, that's an interesting one.
They're polarizing, right?
Yeah. I'm not really that into them at all.
That song, I Got a Feeling.
Oh yes.
Doesn't that just piss you off?
Yeah, that's the worst culprit. I got a feeling. Yeah, that's not a good one, eh?
No.
I'm not a big fan.
No.
Fergie had that pretty crazy national anthem breakdown, eh, where she sort of went off script a little bit.
Oh, really?
With some of the notes.
Oh, really?
The national anthem.
Not in a good way.
An NBA game in a terrible way.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Black Eyed Peas, they are a bit like that, because you get these bands that sort of move between genres.
Mm.
And I think that sometimes if they get a little bit too poppy and a little bit too, well, this is obviously just a moneymaker, then that can probably get them a little bit of hate from their diehard fans, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not a fan. I love that album that they did some really cool stuff, including sampling that track "It's a Family Affair" by Sly and the Family Stone.
Mm.
Do you know that song?
No.
It's like dun 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 dun. Oh, actually, I can't sing it because it's like a real weird guitar kind of sound. That's from a really early album. The early stuff I really liked. So yeah, I guess you might call that kind of selling out, eh?
Do you kind of think like the Fugees are real good, and then they sort of broke up probably at the right time?
Yeah.
Whereas Black Eyed Peas probably had an opportunity to do that.
Oh, yeah.
And then they didn't.
Yeah.
Not saying breaking up, or at least like explore maybe a different thing where they went down the cash cow kind of route.
Yeah. Something went a bit funny there, eh? Where probably it would have been a bit healthier if they just stopped.
Yeah. For everyone involved.
Speaking of Fugees, it's like Wycliffe Jean. Is he from the Fugees, eh?
Yeah.
So he did that, I'll be gone till November, I'll be gone.
Yeah.
A friend played me that album the other day and I hadn't heard before. That's really cool, eh? It's pretty old school. It's really cool, though.
And Lauryn Hill is like an amazing vocalist.
Yeah, epic, eh?
Yeah. I just remember in Sister Act. Was she in Sister Act?
Yeah, Sister Act with Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah. That's right. She's like real rebellious, but she's a real good singer.
Yeah. We should do a thing like musicians in movies at some stage.
Oh, totally.
It'd be pretty funny.
Jean-Claude Van Damme, was he ever a musician?
He's just an amazing dancer. Feeling so good.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I just can't pull off those moves, eh?
No, neither.
Yeah.
No way. Never. Ever.
So, should we tie this up?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, put a bow on this one.
So really what we've sort of like distilled it down to is that a song that's too, or musicians that are overtly soppy when it comes to love songs.
Yeah.
Or artists that sort of straddle genres but not really committing to any genre really.
Yeah, run the risk of alienating some of their fans from either side, and so it can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not really pushing the boat out in any way, shape,
That's
or
right.
form,
Yeah,
either
pushing-
lyrically or musically.
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's a funny one, because there's so many that, I don't know. I suppose on face value, you kind of go, oh, this is quite cool. And then you like dig a bit deeper. It's like Creed. It's like, oh God, like I couldn't listen to Creed now.
Yeah, no, neither.
No. But I do remember a time when I loved them. Love Creed.
Yeah.
In fact, I went to see them in concert.
Oh, really? How was that?
They're really good.
They hit with a bang, eh?
Yeah. Hey, that guy.
Scott Stapp.
Scott Stapp. No, like Tremonti.
Oh, the guitarist,
Yeah. He's got massive arms.
Yeah, true.
It is like he had his foot up on one of the monitors. And he's just giving it everything, like headbanging hard. He had one of those metal chains around his neck, the very like quite, very nicely coiffed hair. But he'd obviously like he'd done some bicep curls before he came out, and they were looking pretty pumped.
It's kind of like, who was the comedian? It might have been, not Aziz Ansari. Who was it? It was some comedian that was saying that he'd love to be, if he's going to be a pop star, he'd be the drummer from Coldplay.
Oh yeah,
and the drummer from Creed would probably be the same. Very unassuming. Couldn't recognize them in the street, but they're kind of like, you get all the good parts of being in a group like that. So, playing big shows, probably, I don't know how the money would be, dispensed, but royalties. But at the same time, such an unassuming character, the drum parts are so nondescript. It's like,
no one really knows who you are.
Yeah, no one knows who you are. Like, yeah.
You can walk into Hannah's and buy a pair of Julius Marlowe's and no one would even know.
Julius Marlowe's. Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, true, man. Yeah, that'd probably be the ultimate, actually.
Yeah.
I think that I'd prefer that. If I was going to be in a band like that, it'd probably be,
You want to be the sound tech. Like no one actually knows, but he's there.
Well, it'd be fun to do the playing.
Yeah.
But I guess those guys kind of get away with not. The drummer from U2 is the same, mate. Like, I can't actually picture him.
No, I've got no idea what he looks like. U2's another a good one. That's quite a polarizing group, like Coldplay.
Yeah, people are so into U2 who are into them, eh?
But then people that are really against U2 is at the same time.
You know what pissed me off about that was that Apple put that U2 album on my phone.
Yes.
I was like, this is
the audacity.
Yeah, absolutely. I just couldn't believe that I had that album on my phone, and I was just like, man.
Was there a way of deleting it?
It was really difficult to delete it, I think. It was too many steps. I was offended by how many steps it was.
Yeah.
And this was at a time where like streaming wasn't quite there. So everything that was on your phone was quite deliberate.
Mm.
It's kind of like, okay, I've got like, 6 gigs of something I can spend on music, so I'm going to make sure that all my favorite albums are on there. And then that one pops up, a U2 album. And I was just like, oh man, they really screwed up with that one, eh?
Mm.
I was like, my music library is the temple. You guys are really,
no one better see this. This is really awkward.
Yeah, yeah. Terrible move by the old Apple marketing department there, I feel like. Yeah. All right. Well, should we call it there?
Yeah, man. Well, that was good.
Yeah, it's been fun letting off some steam.
Yeah, it's good. Definitely.
About some stuff to avoid in the future. Right, till next time, man.
See you later, man.
Have a good week. Talk soon. Thank you for listening, everyone.
See you, everyone.